All right. Well, hello, and welcome to a bit of Sharky Storytime. Definitely a more improvised version of Sharky Storytime, because I don't know what the heck I'm going to be talking about for this, I don't know, next hour or so, however long this is going to be. Because normally for all the videos I posted on the YouTube channel, it's all scripted and like nicely pre-written, and then I would just turn on the presentation voice, and I say the thing in a very enthusiastic, monotone, YouTubey version. But you guys will quickly find out how much of a disaster I am when I don't plan anything. Because I'll be honest, I'm not really an improviser. I just say words and hope they make sense. I should rephrase that actually, because I do have some improvisation skills. I mean, my degree demands that I'm able to improvise in the middle of a presentation. I have a marketing major, and I'd be a pretty shit marketer if if I just froze on stage giving whatever slideshow PowerPoint presentation nonsense. But I should say that in terms of these sorts of conversations and me awkwardly talking into a mic, I'm not great. You're gonna hear that a lot. Lots of giggles whenever I just run out of things to think about. My brain freezes, and all of a sudden we have nothing. I mean, I do have stuff I do want to talk about. I mean, it's Sharky story time, so there's got to be at least a story somewhere in there, and I've compiled this list of embarrassing school stories. I almost said short stories, school stories. Because I've done a lot of dumb things, and I'm sure many of us have. But we'll get to that later. But let's start now. Why not? Let's go. Let's start with the many marketing stories I've got because there was a time where all the schools around the world have sort of shut down and transferred into online school. I'm not sure if you've heard of the cause of it. It's called COVID-19. But let me tell you, university and online school is not great. Not only are you paying the same tuition, or in my case, it like rose by a few percent over a few years, and it made me miss being in a lecture hall, just sitting down, nearly falling asleep, listening to whatever slideshow that the professor decides to put up. Now, to be fair, some professors do that, and there are some nice ones out there. But there was a class I had where and there's a lot of presentations that happen during my marketing degree, as you could probably imagine. And this particular presentation, all done through Zoom. Everyone's got their nice face cams on. Some people in their PJs, some people in their business suits because I don't know. No one knows about any consistent dress code when you're doing online. I mean, some people probably weren't even there. They probably just stuck an image to the camera of their laptop and I don't know, went out, made breakfast or something like that. But there was a presentation I did. I completely forgot what it was about. Some sort of case study. There was on Zoom there was this little chat box on the side where anyone can say whatever. If you want to say penis muncher, you probably could, and the professor would likely not notice. I mean, a lot of us sometimes just have our own private conversation in the chat, and no one really points it out. They're just like, oh, just some people doing their thing. But as you're presenting, and I was one of the kind of the dominant speakers. By that I mean I was one who probably spoke for most of the presentation in my little group. And you get really nice comments. My class was quite nice. They're like, "Yo, you got this, man," or something nice, genuinely kind. But I'm giving a presentation. I think I'm doing a pretty good job of it. Full businessman voice. Like, what would it sound like? It would probably sound something like, pizza stocks have raised about 32% because of XYZ. more less of a disaster like I'm doing right now. But prepared, not quite scripted. Even those are sometimes not scripted. I usually have like little notes on a cue card and like it's still very nervous because you don't want to fuck it up. But someone had sent a message in chat, and what it said was, "You've got a radio voice." And I interpreted that as, because on the context of we're on Zoom, people disconnect all the time. It's pretty natural. And I thought I was disconnecting. Because I'm, oh, radio voice. Maybe my voice was, cutting in and out. If you've ever been on Discord calls before, sometimes your internet connection tanks and your voice goes all robot-y. That's what I thought was happening when I read that comment. And so what I did is I paused, just flat, cold turkey pause, and I completely stopped the presentation. I was like looking around frantically. I'm like, I click on the arrow on my my laptop. I'm like, I see the triple bars signaling the little Wi-Fi icon. I'm like, wait, I'm still connected. Maybe I'm not. Maybe my laptop's doing weird things. And I ask the Zoom call, have I cut out? Is my voice okay? And the professor just dead face looked at me. And he was like, yeah, well, why'd you stop? He genuinely asked why I'd stopped, and I got really confused there for a second because, again, I was under the impression that I was constantly disconnecting. But then I realized that you have a radio voice. That was a compliment. That was a compliment saying more or less that I had a pretty good presentation voice. So that was pretty embarrassing, and I was like, oh, the second I realized, I'm like, oh shit, I've just stopped the presentation for no reason. So yeah, I mean, we did pretty good in the presentation all in all, but that was a pretty embarrassing moment. And those are the kinds of stories we're gonna talk about them today, and that's just I think my voice is quite refined in the way of I talk clearly, which is probably what you want because you want to communicate your whatever you're saying properly. But of outside of professional ish talking, I just this the stuff I'm saying right now. I can barely put words together. I just slur my words all the time, and I mean, hopefully, I'm making sense to you guys because I genuinely like the stories I'm about to tell. But I also, Sharky story time. I should probably explain why I'm doing it in this way, and that's because I want to give you guys a bit more content. I only ever make like the longest video prior to this one was I think maybe like 11 minutes. And, for if that was consistent, that would be fantastic. But I'm slow. I'm very busy with my current degree. And you guys might not know this, but I always feel bad whenever I there's more than a week between the last video and the one I'm about to post. Because in my head I'm like, okay, I gotta do weekly videos, or at least weekly. Otherwise, it's not gonna. I don't feel like a content creator. I feel like just some bloke who doesn't know. I mean, I don't know what I'm doing, but some bloke who doesn't know what they're doing and just trying their best. Because here's the thing, I do try my best. Even with this right now, I want to try this. Hey, this is pretty fun for me. I'm just laughing away, and I can edit all the mess ups out in post production. You're probably seeing some gameplay footage of, I don't know, an IS-3 run from Ark Knights just in the background. Nothing to do with what I'm talking about. It's like you see those TikToks where um, you have these popping subtitles talking about something like, I don't know, some sort of Reddit post, and then the bottom half of the screen is cropped to some, I don't know, Subway Surfers gameplay. It's basically that, half the screen, or in this case, the whole screen, is full of just unrelated video footage just to keep viewer retention alive. And I'll be honest, if you made it this far already, I mean, first of all, thank you. I do appreciate it. But it really does feel like that, doesn't it? Well, I will say, you do not need to be watching this. Just put me up in the background. I'll let you know if I decide to edit any relevant images for the sake of the story and it making sense. Which there's a couple that probably need some sort of image. But anyways, next story. I've been recently sick. I've had a week off from university as something, at least here in Canada, is called Reading Week. And it's different for universities, and mine came stupidly early, I'll be honest. It was, by the time this is posted, October 15th, as last week, where I had the entire week off. And normally I spend that time to, relax and get some stuff done. I was gonna go into the studio, work on a few projects as well. But all those plans just went out the window because I got COVID-19 in 2023. Who would have thought? Don't you hate it when stuff like that comes up? And you're like, oh, I got all these amazing plans. Oh, no, never mind. Can't do any of them. And now I'm going to be really behind on my work, which, not particularly looking forward to that. Well, it happens, but if my voice sounds a bit sickly, that's why. I'm glad it wasn't that bad though. I was expecting, especially in 2023, I was expecting to catch some new variant like I don't know, the muffin burger variant or whatever ridiculous name they come up with. There was a clip of South Park I saw, and they made a joke about that. It was like the new Delta Airlines strain. And I thought, I mean, they do satire decently enough, but that's what it feels like. That is genuinely what it feels like when, maybe like a couple of years ago, sometime after Delta variant, was a thing. And I'm just like, oh, when are they gonna announce the beta, the gamma variants, or the, something along those lines? And, there is classifications. Probably need them, especially if there's a worldwide pandemic that's killing tons of people. But where do we draw the line in the sand? Where is the line drawn? Um, yeah, this will happen a lot. I'm just gonna run out of thoughts. And I have to somehow segue. I mean, practice makes perfect, but I mean, at least COVID isn't as bad as a thing anymore. I feel like COVID is gonna be like the flu season. It'll come by seasonally. Be like, oh, it's COVID season. People will get COVID. It's fine. People will live. Don't get sick. You'll miss school. And not like the complete disaster that is 2020. Really is just a bin fire that year. Actually, fun fact, 2020, because of the whole lockdowns and stuff, that was the same year I started at least giving content creation a try. I started off live streaming on Twitch at around maybe late August, I want to say, around late August 2020. And I'd never done anything prior to that. Let's dive in that a bit because if you thought if you thought that my skills now are, pretty mediocre. I'm gonna be brutally honest, they're pretty mediocre. But compared to how I started, the growth is, I think, quite immense. My very first stream, I still remember my very first stream. I was such a nervous wreck. I think I still am to an extent. But back then, especially when I was doing my first stream, zero viewers, it's kind of sad. It's really a certain feeling when you're streaming to zero people. Because you have to figure out a way to just keep talking and to I don't like radio silence personally. No, some cases it's appropriate. Maybe a streamer's focusing on a really hard bit, and you're like, "Yeah, you got this, yeah." But it wasn't really like that because I try, especially now, I try building my channel off of my scuff personality. But I was so nervous that very first stream that I got three other friends to join me in a voice call just to give me moral support. And actually, it was one of those friends that suggested that I try out streaming. Um, I mean, I don't really stream nowadays just because of my home situation, and I don't know. I don't really feel like streamer material, and you wouldn't think that's a thing, but I genuinely don't think I'm streamer material. I feel like I'm very much of, hey, let's pre-record this or record this clip, put it together into something funny, and that's what I've been doing whenever I can. But that first stream, I I, I remember watching it back for audio issues because there were a lot of them, believe me. But I don't think I barely spoke. I was that nervous because I was always afraid that I'd be judged quite harshly. I was one of those kids. Really nervous, reserved, not as much these days, probably because of my marketing major and the fact that, hooray presentations. And, but this was definitely a different experience. Something I never really considered doing or did at all for the first time. And yeah, I mean, first streams goes about as well as you expect. Not great. I'm not a Hololive VTuber, okay? I'm just some guy living in the land of maple syrup and snow, in front of my laptop with not even a mic setup. Just trying my best. But moving on from that, let's tell some more embarrassing school stories because I promised on the community post I'd tell a few, and I have a bunch of them written down here. So I guess while we're on the topic of university, let's go for a more recent story. So I have fully completed my marketing degree. I am genuinely I say this all the time to new people I meet, but I am genuinely qualified, professionally qualified in my specialization to produce terrible mobile game advertisements. Because my specialty is in the advertisement communications social media kind of area, some borderline consulting, but now I'm in my new degree. Something I wanted to do for a very long time is I'm an interior design major. I get to do design, which I love design. Any sort of design, video game design, something I like to call civil design, stuff like architecture, city planning, and of course interior design. So I've been loving it. Like some of my friends look at me weird when I say I'm actually enjoying my university experience, despite it being absolutely busy to all heck. So, but there was a project that involved making a model. Now, I like model building. I find model building quite relaxing, quite fun. Just making stuff with your bare hands and be like, you have this physical thing which you can hang up somewhere on your shelf, or just something to say that, hey, you made this, and I'm proud of myself for making it. Uh, it was this really cool model I was making. Most of it was out of like thick paper, and there was a nice tip going around that one of our professors kind of gave us, and it was if you need something to be freestanding, he suggested that we go to the nearby Tim Hortons, Canadian coffee chain, or not just coffee chain, but they're known for coffee mostly, and pick up paper straws and use your utility knife, cut them up, glue it together. And my project happened to benefit extremely well with the use of paper straws. And I don't order coffee. I Prior to that story, I've never really ordered coffee ever. The last time I tried ordering coffee was maybe around in 2019, late 2019. So basically almost 4 years ago was the last time prior to the story. And I foolishly asked for a shot of espresso, thinking that it would just be a normal coffee with a shot of espresso. And what I got on the other end was just a sad, tiny little cup that's almost empty. And it took me a while to realize I'm like, oh, that biggish cup is or not big, but no, that like small size cup was mine. And I looked inside and I was like, wait, why is there no liquid in it? And then it hit me. It was literally a shot of espresso. I mean, I downed it regardless, but that's how little I drink coffee. I'm more of a tea drinker. So it was very, very nervous ordering a cup of coffee at the local Tim Hortons on campus. And on top of that, getting enough paper straws to finish building my project. And of course, went to Tim Hortons. Usually the lines at most hours on university campuses, especially the ones I've been to in Canada, are pretty long-ish. There's a certain amount of wait time to it, is what I'll say. Again, not the worst thing in the world. I mean, first world problems. But I'll. This is what I said. The person at the till, very nice. She was like, "Hey, could I get your order?" And I said, "Hi, could I get a medium-sized normal coffee?" And I believe those are very close to the exact words I said. Um, can I get a medium-sized normal coffee? I think in that moment I sounded like one of those aliens that come from space and is just trying to blend in with the humans. And they decided the best way was to establish their character as someone who has never ordered coffee before. Or very rarely ordered coffee before. Is like, great. I gotta do the voice. I gotta like squeeze my nose for this. Like, greetings, human. I would like to acquire a medium-sized normal coffee, please. Might have not what it actually sounded like, but it definitely felt like that. And she was again very nice person. They're trying to clarify, and I was like, "Yeah, I don't really order coffee. I don't really know what the standard thing. There's a term in Canada, um, called a double double, which is a very specific thing of coffee. It's like double cream, double something, something like that. But they call it a double double, and I didn't even know that existed. I don't know half the Canadian slang. I'm gonna be honest. Like I don't know what's the closest slang I know. Coffee crisp, ketchup chips. That's like the genuinely the closest thing I can think of. That's remotely Canadian slang, which isn't even slang. It's just stuff exclusive to Canada most of the time. By the way, ketchup chips are delicious. And yeah, so she clarified what kind of coffee. It was just like medium, just normal, regular coffee. It was such an awkward conversation of me trying to figure out what a normal coffee is. And I didn't even think to look up at the menu either. I just went up there as I was waiting in line. I was like, oh, okay, definitely. This is what I'm gonna say. I'm gonna say, can I have a medium-sized normal coffee? That's the sad part. I prepared saying that a medium-sized normal coffee. And eventually, I got my coffee, and I was like, oh wait, I need my paper straws. So I asked them, I was like, sorry, can I get a paper straw, please? It'd be very nice. And she was like, "Oh, it's over there." And my blind ass couldn't see it, so I was like, "Wait, where is it?" And she grabbed one right out of the thing. There's like a little hole on the counter where all the paper straws are stored. And I knew I needed way more than just one for my project. And I had to ask again. Could I get a could I get a few more of those? Just like three or four, and that's when she started getting a little suspicious. Like, why do you need more than one straw for your coffee? And I had to make up a lie, some sort of lie about, oh yeah, I have friends that need it, and yeah, they wanted me to go get it. Please don't question it too much. And I got a total of four paper straws. Now, the problem was, I had previously acquired two from a peer that didn't need those straws anymore and just kind of gave them to whoever needed them, aka me. And six straws in total wasn't enough. So you know what that means? I had to go back and get more. Preferably on a different day, because I didn't want to go back. I mean, I have standards for myself. I didn't want to go back to the same person and be like, sorry, can I just get three more straws? Because I feel like there's a limit to those things, you know? One of those unwritten rules of society where when you get something that isn't necessarily what most people go there for, in my case, coffee, baked goods, whatever it is. And so I had to wait until a different day, and I got it, but it was such an awkward conversation having to do that twice. Not only, I mean, I refined my medium-sized normal coffee nonsense to, could I get a medium double double? So, we've upgraded from alien status to basic as hell coffee orderer guy. So, I mean, other university embarrassing stories I've got. I posted a video before. I called it the Yoimiya keychain story. Yoimiya being a character from Genshin Impact, best waifu by the way. But that whole story essentially amounted to in the because this was during the pandemic or the later parts of the pandemic, so institutions were kind of hesitant on opening up for physical classes again, but they allowed some classes to be done in person. For example, I had an art class that involved a lot of workshop kind of work, wood shopping, woodworking, metalworking, all that kind of stuff for sculptures because I took a sculpture class. And so that class was allowed to be done in person, and I often have to visit campus for that. And it's really unusual walking through an empty campus and have it be the middle of the day, where usually people would flood the halls, you would see like groups of students constantly socializing, or not socializing and just waiting for their bus. I'm sure we've all done that. But that story was essentially me walking down one of those semi-empty hallways, and someone recognized the Yoimiya on my backpack, and they were like, "Yo, was that Yoimiya? Hell yeah, poggers!" The cringiest thing you could possibly imagine. And the story of that video ended with me walking into one of my lectures, and the professor there recognizing the Yoimiya on my backpack and stopped his lecture and he's like, "Is that Yoimiya?" And I never told what happened after that. That was kind of like the punchline of the video. But what happened afterwards, it was again, I run into these very awkward situations a lot. Because I have three keychains on my backpack. One is Yoimiya from Genshin Impact. The other two on different little zippers. One of them being Scotty from Arknights and Project Red from Arknights. Very, very nice characters. If I only wished I picked up a Nightmare one. And this was me coming in late, so because of that conversation I had with the random guy in the hallway, I was actually a few minutes late to class and the lecture had already started. And so most people were already settled down on their desks. Maybe not on their desks, but sitting in their desks. And yeah, everyone just looked at me. I'm like, oh boy, oh boy, what do I say here? And it wasn't. Uh, Again, very. You gotta know what it feels like to be the center of attention unwillingly. Unwillingly, they just kind of call you out. You're like put on the spot, like I'm putting myself on the spot right now, recording this episode of Sharky Storytime. And you're sweating balls. You're really sweating balls when you just like you start panicking, the adrenaline starts going, and you lose your words. And I'm just like, thank you. That's all I remember saying. Just thank you, as if he gave a compliment when he just asked if that was Yoimiya. And yeah, big blur. But what I think was hilarious afterwards, after all of that, took my seat. Lecture was going. It was a very interesting class. It was about I honestly don't remember what it was about, but I remember the kind of ideas that were kind of being spoken, like communities, essentially. I forgot the term for it, but communities, like the gaming community, or the I don't know, the hiking community, or the PC tech community, and like how they act together as a unit, stuff, kind of technical stuff like that. And for his big example to explain all the concepts, he brought up Gundam. And in my mind, just I was screaming in my head. Didn't actually scream because, that would be kind of rude. But in my head, I was just screaming like, "Oh my god, this guy's into Gundams!" And he showed all these videos, all like these video game, like YouTube videos, because it was because YouTube videos can count as stuff that communities produce, that sort of stuff. And it was amazing. And then he showed a document. You would think that would be it. Just, oh, this guy really likes Gundams, and there's only like two of us in the class who know what Gundams are. But then he brought up a documentary for us to watch, like clips of. And it was a documentary made, I believe, in the 1990s slash early 2000s. And it was about the anime community. And I thought that was just great. Because you see really old clips like in color because it was like a genuine documentary of people walking around with their body pillows and back when anime conventions were relatively small niche kind of thing, not like what you see today, where people are burning to death in the sun while waiting to get in line or waiting in line to get inside the convention. It was not like that before. And they interviewed this one guy. I remember this clip because everyone was like, "Oh boy," and it's this guy. There's nothing wrong with it. Genuinely, there's nothing wrong with it. But the interviewer asked, "I was like, who is that?" And there was a guy holding a body pillow of one of the Sailor Moon characters. And he went on for like 2 minutes. This was 1 or 2 minutes on this documentary of this guy explaining how much he likes his waifu, and I think that's just endearing. Wait, that was the aftermath of the Yoimiya keychain story. I still have those keychains today. They're still in my backpack, and actually, they're quite the conversation starter. Nowadays, anime is I'd say, quite mainstream, at least here in Canada. Where it's at least when I was growing up, um, around I got into anime around I want to say like 2014, 2014ish. And back then, it was getting to that transition of anime being mainstream, but anime was still this niche thing, and you would still be called a weeb. And these days, when you're called a weeb, it's more of like, yo, I'm a weeb, man. It's said in that very like you're in the club kind of way. But back then, it was still used as a derogatory term, where weeb was often used as you'd be made fun of, you'd be relentlessly bullied for liking anime. And it was still around that time. But no, nowadays, like I'd walk into stores and like sometimes genuinely I'd get a couple of the staff just coming around to me, and I'm like ready for them to ask the question, if I the usual question of do you need assistance? Those kind of nice, normal questions. I mean, I did get asked that several times, but then right after, they're like, nice keychains. And I think that's really nice. Just the difference, at least seeing the difference. Probably some of you, or probably a lot of you, might have lived through that as well. But I guess how it feels now compared to back then was, yeah, you would often back then you would often hide the fact that you were into anime because some common questions would be like, "Oh, you're into hentai," or "Oh, it's that Japanese porn looking thing," and I'd just be like, "Oh no, it's anime." It's they wouldn't make a you wouldn't really make a big deal about it, and the only people you'd ever um, talk anime with about is other people that you were lucky enough to find that were also into the same things you are, which probably how it became such a niche thing. Again, eventually bursting its way into the mainstream, where it's much more culturally acceptable. Again, this is a Canada, more North American thing, but I can only speak for Canada because hey, that's where I live. Actually, speaking of Canada, I can dox myself extremely easily because all I have to do is name the country and name my time zone. And you'll have already like a very good lead on where I live. So let's do that right now. Sharky doxes himself on his own. It might as well just be a podcast at this point. But I live in Canada, the country right above the United States. Some people don't know that actually, but yeah, it's the country right above the United States, known for its maple syrup, snow, Mounties, Tim Hortons. Not getting paper straws from Tim Hortons, but getting coffee from Tim Hortons. And my time zone is probably it's a pretty unusual time zone. I'm not the biggest fan of my time zone because it's MST, Mountain Standard Time, or Mountain Daylight Time, depending on daylight savings. But Mountain Time. MDT, MST. It's one time zone east of Pacific Time. So where Vancouver is, where California is, one time zone up past that. And with that, you already have a good idea where I might live. Unless specifically say that I live in the middle of nowhere, which I'm an honest person. I don't live in the middle of nowhere. In fact, I live in a city. But there you go. You can put the pieces together. You know where I live. And the fact that I said I'm an interior design major, you probably know what university I attend. And if you also go there, come say hi to me, even though you guys don't know what I look like. I promise I won't be too socially awkward. Hopefully, just ask, "Are you Sharky?" And I'll be honest. I'll be like, "Yeah, I'm Sharky. Hi, what's up?" I'm not that famous yet. Come on. Maybe one day I'll get famous enough that people say hi to me on the streets. And I think that's a very nice thing. Make people's day just by kind of waving to them, giving them a smile. I like making people's days better. That's why my videos aren't particularly the most informative. They're very much on the side of, hey, here are these short videos to make you laugh, make your day a bit better. That's kind of my intention when I make YouTube videos. Is yeah, and even with the guides, my guides, yeah, they're informative, and I have my marketing presentation voice, or it's a way more enthusiastic version of my marketing presenter's voice, and I, I try to be informative, but I know there's tons of guides out there that probably do a way better job, but I just want to be fun. I just want to have some fun, like I am right now. This is probably the most have fun I've had in a while. Maybe might be because I've just come off of having COVID, but the bar's quite low at the moment. But I want to have fun with the channel. it might not equate to views. Like the viewer retention of this current video is probably just down the shitter. But honestly, I could not care less. Not in the way if I don't care about, getting content, getting views, because I obviously, as a person making scuffed YouTube videos, I do care about the views to an extent. I think many people would be lying and saying that they don't. But I want to at least have fun while doing it. It's enjoyable just being myself, and this is the first time I get to properly be myself because I finally had the confidence to do it. And so I don't know. What do you guys think in the comments? Do you guys want more of this? Because I'd love to do more of these things. We can just chat, have a grand old time, and that's all I really want. That sounded a bit corny. Let's fix that with a cringe school story. Let's look at my list. Ooh. Here's one of my favorite stories to tell whenever I meet new people. I like to call it the Valentine's Day card story. And for those that have tried to indulge in romance, if you don't have the most confidence in yourself, listen to this story and you will feel 10 times better about yourself when it comes to romance. So this took place around 10th grade, so my first year of high school. And I'd probably be around, how old would I be? Like 15, 16, whatever age in the normal age is. And the story starts obviously like a girl want to ask her out, but the how I did it is the most face palming thing I think I've ever done. Because my mind, when it comes to romance at the time, I was very, very naive. I'm probably a naive person even now, but definitely back then I thought romance was, hey, you tell them you like them and then you get married and have kids and it'll be all happy. I didn't consider anything. I didn't consider anything in between at all, actually. But I was trying to figure out how to ask this person out. And how I did it, and miraculous timing as well. Our school would have morning announcements of like, oh, hey, stuff is going on in the main foyer. You have these events today. There's a football game happening. Football as in soccer, not American football. Though we do have an American football team at that school. So I could have just said nothing, but here we go with my snobby corrections. But the announcements would go off, and there was one of the clubs was hosting a Valentine's Day card thing, where you could buy someone, your crush, an anonymous gift, and they would deliver it to them in that class. Well, I say anonymous, but like you wouldn't have to do it yourself if you didn't have the balls, which I certainly didn't. And money would go to charity. It's a nice little thing. And I was still at that point where I needed a lot of moral support. I said this a couple times already. I'm a very nervous person. And I tend to stutter, as you've been hearing for like the past 40 minutes. And the awkward laughs too. But I grabbed a friend with me, and he would kind of, hype me up, make sure I have the confidence to go to the club stand to buy the thing. And there's these little cubicles, kind of like voting ballots where it's you kind of can do it in secret. There would be a laptop behind the thing, and it would be like surrounded by a trifold card stock, whatever those things are called. You were surrounded, so you have some privacy. And all you have to do was fill it out, fill the format on the laptop. Stuff like, oh, who's your crush's name, and what's your name, so you can do the to from message. What kind of a package would you like? You could buy more chocolates, or you can buy them a rose, something like that. Again, I'm very naive, or I was very naive at the time. I bought everything, genuinely everything. I maxed out literally every single bar they had, all the chocolates, all the flowers, even a stuffed bear, I think. Oh, I was a stupid, stupid kid. But all while my friend was like, "Yeah, you got this, yo, you got this, mate." Like, what are some slang terms people would use in 2016? Like, oh, bro, that's lit, or something that's now considered probably pretty cringe. Who knows? Maybe down the line, saying stuff is cringe would be cringe. Maybe we're approaching that time now. But I bought the thing, and this was during the lunch hour, so friend went to the next class, and all I had to do, I already paid for it, and I just had to write out the Valentine's Day card message, which was I for some reason, I blanked out, like I do. I blanked out, and I just could not figure out what I wanted to say. There were so many choices in retrospect, like "I love you," or "Would you go out with me?" or "You're a really nice person." Anything, but I didn't think of it. I thought of nothing. The brain just ceased to function. And I did write something in the end. But I wrote it down. It was very nice, super super heartwarming, and moved on with my life. And they would have to make the thing, and this was 1 week before Valentine's Day when the gift was supposed to be delivered. Now, on Valentine's Day, 1 week later, the morning announcements would go off, and the announcements went along something like this. I'm gonna say it in a pretty condescending way, but they essentially said, to the people who ordered a Valentine's Day card from this club, which is the club I ordered from, please come to the main foyer or foyer, however you pronounce it, and pick it up and deliver it yourself. Something where you spent money on for charity, so obviously we would not ask for our money back because that's a pretty shitty thing to do. But the fact that it was you bought it because someone else would do it for you because you were too wuss to do it, and now you have to do it yourself. So I picked it up at lunch, met up with my friend again, and we that same friend, and we had a class together to think about how I wanted to give this to my crush. And I just sat there in front of my PC, or not my PC, in front of the one of the school computers. Doing. I even took design classes in high school. That's how much I'm into design. But I came with an ultimatum. I asked that friend. I said, "Could you do me a favor?" And being the nice person, nice friend he is, he's like, "Yeah, yeah, sure, man. I'll do stuff for you." And I essentially asked him this: We are going to deliver this. We know where our locker is, borderline stalkerish, but we know where our locker is. We're gonna go deliver it to her as soon as our class ends and everyone's going home. Please make sure I do so. And if I try to back out in any way, shape, or form, you would drag me there forcefully, forcing me to do it. So that was my way to make sure it actually happens. Because I'm again very very nervous, but I wanted to do this because I really like the person. And class goes by, and it might not be surprising to hear, but he dragged me there. Made sure I got to that person's locker. And what happened next was probably one. Again, I go through a lot of awkward situations just by virtue of being me. But I walk up, I'm like, "Hey, happy Valentine's Day. Here's your thing." Yeah. It was so awkward. But just imagine that, but like add on a couple tones of nervousness, and that's essentially what you have. And she was very, very nice. I wasn't like spat in the face or anything or slapped like in those sitcoms. But I was so nervous that I didn't even get to hear her response. Now, what I mean by that is, after I said the thing, gave her the chocolates and the rose and the all the goodies, I just stood there in silence, wondering what else I'm supposed to do. And after a bit, I was like, I'm just gonna go now. Bye. And the good friend I have, um, he kind of covered for me, kind of drove the attention away from me. And what I didn't realize is like the people in the immediate like area around where we were, they were all looking at me, delivering this. And I'm just like, oh, don't think about it, don't think about it, don't think about it, don't think about it, don't think about it. So, Jacob, if you're somehow watching this, hey, thanks. And that was really it. I haven't. I mean, the next day I did get a response, but it was more of my crush told my friend the response, and he would relay it to me because I left awkwardly. And she said she really liked it. Genuinely really liked it. She laughed a lot at the Valentine's Day card message, which is probably the best response you could get. I'll be honest. It was a very nice letdown. I wasn't too offended. I'm not one of those like, no, you have to be with me. No, that's just weird. And that was really it. And I never mentioned what the message said because I whenever I tell this story, I always leave that as the punchline. And believe me, it's a punchline. Because what I wrote in that Valentine's Day card was, to her from me, yeah. No, seriously, that's what I wrote. Yeah. Capital YEAH period. Yeah. That I mean, I know never to do that again, but is this why I'm single? Am I just so dorky and awkward that no one wants to be around me? No, of course I know that's not true. I say it jokingly. But yeah, there you go. That's one of my favorite stories to tell. Just period. Not just because it's an embarrassing school story, but I mean, I have half a page on this Word doc here of just all the stories I could go through. I'm not gonna go through all of them, probably because I'll be here forever. But yeah, I mean, if I want to do these sort of videos more often, especially because again, I want to give you guys some content, and this is how I'm comfortable with doing it. Other than my normal videos. By the way, I haven't forgotten about the Fire Emblem video. I just needed time to make the thing, so I haven't forgotten about it. It's still there in the production line. But I had a special segment planned here, which is another story of an embarrassing school story. Not so much embarrassing, more glorious. Very, very glorious. But it has to do with my grade 12 yearbook. And this whole story starts off, and usually no one gives a shit about the yearbook, at least the people at my school, at my high school. But one day, I'd hang out with a group of friends, and I come in with, I don't know, probably bought like a Subway or something when Subway was still good. And I got approached with a really weird question from that friend. We'll call him Mark. Mark is a good enough name. Mark. Right? He asked me. Mark asked me this really. It came out of nowhere. I didn't expect this question at all. He just asked me if you could put anything in a time capsule for 50 years, what would it be? And this question was so specific. I was like, I thought there would be another. Why would you ask that question? Just out of the blue. I know we're not good at conversation starters, Mark, but well, that's a bit scraping the bottom of the barrel there. And I'm not a shit friend. I like to think I'm a good friend. So I do answer these. And what I said was, without hesitation, what I say. I said, waifu body pillow. One of those dakimakuras. And Mark's eyes just lit up. And what he said afterwards, he was like, you have to write that down. And again, I don't know the context, so I was just really confused, saying, what? What, haha? you know? And he basically took me to an event that was going on in the main foyer, where every year, each of the years, grades 10, 11, and 12, was asked a very particular question. And what you could do, by your own will, is to go and write your answer down on a little whiteboard, with a marker. You would hold it up, and it would be a picture for the yearbook. And I was like, you know what? This will be funny, right? For funny people, right? I'm funny, right? I hope I'm funny. And I wrote it down as a joke. I was smiling. People around me were laughing because I don't know. Imagine a probably like 5'6" Asian guy in a hoodie holding up a sign nonchalantly that just says "waifu body pillow." I'm trying to think of it. I'm pretty tall now. Not to flex or anything, but I am 6 foot. Exactly 6 foot. I don't exaggerate it. It is genuinely, I cannot stretch it below or above. It is exactly 6 foot. But I didn't think much about it until the yearbook came out. And this yearbook, you would have all your normal stuff like the clubs and like everyone in it. I was in a couple clubs. You wouldn't take one guess of what clubs I was a part of if you had to guess. The math club? No, no, I fucking hate math. I'm good at math, I just hate it to bits. But I was a part of the video game club and the anime club. Wink, wink, flex, flex. But eventually, as you flip to the yearbook, obviously you would find the portraits, where all the students that attend the school are found. Grade 10 students, all their faces, grade 11, grade 12, so on, right? And by those portraits, there would be the question. The question, for example, for the grade 10 year was something along the lines of, what do you think would be a trend in 50 years? And we had this theme of 50 going because it was my high school's 50th anniversary when I graduated. But, it would be a question like that. And then people would write down the responses, some silly, some serious. You get the full spectrum of students. And then you get to the grade 12 part, where on the right half of the book, on that kind of side of the page, top left corner of that page, was the question. Two people, two assumed volunteers. If you could put anything in a time capsule for 50 years, what would it be? And then, like 2 or 3 images to the right, my photo was there of me just holding this sign that says "waifu body pillow," and I'm gonna put an image up. I think in editing, but there's proof of my cringe. Leave it up there for a few seconds, but imagine that's like right in the top right corner of the page as well, so it's very easy to see. And I thought that was, cringe, glorious, hilarious, however you want to interpret it as. But that's what happened. And also that's what I looked like in grade 12. I look like shit. I look so much better now. I'm not self-conscious about my looks, I swear. So I do have my yearbook right beside me while we're on the topic, and what I wanted to do to end this little, I'm just gonna call it a podcast from now on, Sharky Storytime podcast, is I want to share some really nice signatures, because you get the yearbook, you get your friends to sign it, say jokes, nice things, and some of you might be like, Sharky, you have friends? Holy shit. Where can I get some of those? I jest, of course, but I haven't opened this book up in a couple years, so memory's not great. But I'm looking at all these now, and just apologies for the noise there. Just me putting my yearbook down, but some of these are genuine nice. Again, I'm gonna read some of these out because they're nice. I mean, coming off of the last story, the first quote I read is "waifu body pillows!" Exclamation point! Exclamation point! So you know people saw it. But some of my favorite. There's a good friend I have. I still talk to him plenty today, and I actually asked him if he wanted to edit some of my videos, at least some of the less involved ones, so not the guides. But this is what he said to me, and I think this is really sweet because he can be a troll most of the time, but when he's serious, he's very nice. This is what he said. Remember when we first met? Grade 10 design studies. I knew no one in that class until Jacob decided to start up a convo. The same guy from that other story, the Valentine's Day card story. From there on, it only went up. You are probably the most memorable person I've been friends with. Hopefully, we'll keep in touch along the years. Stay weeby. And he drew me a little furret from Pokemon because he knows I like fluffy creatures. But luckily, we do still keep in touch along these. I think it's very sweet. Um, I mean, I say that, but right below that, right below that is Sharky, where's the little girl? Well, it shows a dichotomy of the kinds of friends I have. And obviously, I replaced my full name with Sharky just because it's easier to say. And also, I hate my first name. But, like, yeah, lots of people notice the waifu body pillow thing um, in the yearbook. So you get stuff like epic yearbook stuff, my dude. I don't think people will forget you, lol. And again, they're super nice messages. Like this one here. I talk to this person still as well. Sharky! You are such a great friend to have, especially in math grade 10 and electronics grade 12. I'm lucky to have such a great friend. And again, dichotomy of my friends. Right below that, he drew two upwards. Someone else drew two upwards arrows and just put what he said, and then signed his name. And then right below that is a message, essentially roasting the other guy. I'll use Mark as a name again. It's not that same person, but right below that, the what he said message was, "I love beating Mark up with you. Hopefully he's okay from that." I mean, maybe. I mean, there's no face cam or anything in these, but I just have this big grin on my face as I'm reading some of these. Like, you're such a nice dude. Hope you don't become a dick in the future. Thanks for always doing my electronic shit. Like for context, one of my favorite high school classes was a class called electronics where we build circuit boards, do robotics, that kind of like not quite computer science. That was a separate class, but it's the applicative involved part of that kind of industry. I'm not too familiar with it because I know everything that's not science. I'm going to be honest. I can do psychology, I can do sociology, I can do all the business shenanigans. I can present. I can do art, a tiny bit of graphic design, though I'm shit at it. I can do design, just not anything science related. I might know about it, but I'm not that out of the loop. But yeah, lots of nice comments like you're pro electronics. But yeah, there was a part of that class where we'd be building these circuit boards, and have things that actually work. Like one year we made a strobe light from scratch. Like you would have all the resistors, the capacitors. You have the soldering iron, like kind of melting the kind of metal to kind of connect the parts. You would have to etch your own circuit board, draw your own thing with a Sharpie so that all the copper things you drawn wouldn't melt off. And again, it's not as complicated as I make it out to be, but it's a lot of fun, very therapeutic for me. Maybe not for some people, but I enjoyed it so much that whenever people needed help, I would always help them out. And that's where my reputation comes from, of just being a nice, helpful guy. Yeah, let's check out some other quotes. Yeah, so you got some I'm not gonna say generic. That's mean. Yeah, again, these are all nice comments. Like, "Hey Sharky, thanks for the amazing year, and good luck for your future success." Or, "Hello Sharky, I remember social and English language arts. It was really fun being friends. Stay in touch." Or there was in high school, I was going through a very dark time in my life, so I get comments like, "You better not die on me, Sharky." But luckily, I'm still here. Maybe on a different episode I can talk about the dark parts of my life, but let's keep it positive for now. Let's not be too depressing. But what I find is just this treasure trove of, maybe I wasn't that bad of a person. Maybe I was a lot better than I made myself out to be. Now that I'm like looking back at all of this, because I don't know about some of you guys, but I have pretty low self-esteem. I'm like, can I do it? No, no, I can't. Which is why it took so much effort just to get this audio recording going. I mean, now that I'm going, I'm just saying things. I mean, I guess that's the whole point of a little podcasty thing. But there we go. On the back, I mean, there's more I'm gonna read out. People ran out of room on the front, and so some people had to draw on the back. And another one of my favorite ones is just a little. It's signed by the person, but they drew. They essentially drew me in a very rough, sketchy style, hugging a Hatsune Miku body pillow. And it's actually a really nice illustration, and it, again, makes me smile quite a lot. I wish I could show an image, but there's so many names I'll have to blur out, including my own name. But I mean, if you saw the image of me holding up the sun with the wife of body pillow, I'd say I'm quite believable. And it's not like I don't. It's not like I want to lie. Obviously, I want to. I'm not a fan of lying. Like other comments, bye bye anime man, we'll miss you. But what I find hilarious is on the very left side of the cover. Because some people would talk to me about just things. Again, I was a very nice, trustworthy person, and so sometimes when people would just talk about anything with me, and this one was very sweet because this person says, "Yeah, I'm into BDSM." Great start, by the way. Be the best you can be. Don't bring yourself down. Strive to reach your goals. Love ya. And that was off of the context of we just talk about random stuff. Actually, my current understanding of Magic the Gathering comes from that guy, even though I don't play the game. But then someone saw that, and he's like, "Wait a second, BDSM? Hang on a second." And what he wrote, a different person wrote, was, "I'm into Deep Throat, and BDSM Streak is the website to go." Smiley face. Again, the dichotomy of the friends I've made. And then right below that is a little creepy little message that says, Please engage in acts of BDSM with me." Oh, well, what am I anymore? What am I? But actually, the weirdest of all of them, all the signatures, was I'm still trying to wrap my head around this one. Again, another good friend I still talk to today. He says, "Keep it Sharky." Now, the peculiar part about that is that signature and this yearbook predates me creating my YouTube channel and me starting up Twitch. Because I had never used Sharky in any username I've had up until I, started streaming on Twitch, being, the channel name Sharky Ferret, or Sharky for short. So if you want something to call me, it's Sharky, Shark, one of those. Fuckface, if you want to be derogatory. But yeah, Sharky is the usual name. But I find it weird because maybe that's where Sharky originated from. just from a really nice yearbook message. Keep it Sharky. And it's got the Kia face on it, with the greater than, less than, and then the sideways D for the smiley face. I might have to ask him about it someday, but maybe that's where Sharky Ferret came from. Maybe it wasn't just two random words from randomwordgenerator.com. Oh, that's another story for a different time. The origins of my username, Sharky Ferret slash Pixel Ferret. But that's the weirdest one of them all. It's just this mystery I'll never get to solve. Just keep it Sharky. I'm like, oh, Sharky? But anyways, enough pondering about that. I'll end this off with a bit of a PSA. I don't really know what to do with this because I'm giving it a good go at it. Um, but maybe we can do a Q&A segment. But if you have things for me to talk about, or if you want, it could be about literally anything. Maybe not nothing too political, but most things. If you have something you want me to talk about, again, can be more or less anything, and I'll try my best. Just let me know in the comments if you have questions for me. Put them in the comments. I'd love to answer them. And hopefully, with this long video audio podcast thing, I hope you are entertained because I think that's the most important thing at the end of the day. It's fun enough making these things as it is, but I want you guys to enjoy it. And sometimes, especially when you're on YouTube, it's really difficult to tell without comments. Because even with the like dislike ratio and number of views, it's still really hard to gauge anything. So honestly, if you want to show your support, comments, ask me questions, and I'll talk about it on the next episode of Sharky Storytime in this weird, awkward, long form content. And who knows, maybe I'll go through more embarrassing school stories because I got more. But, anyways, hopefully this recording isn't corrupted. I'll be very upset if it is. And yeah, so yeah, thanks if you've made it this far. Thanks. This is a heartfelt thanks from me, Sharky. And I hope you all have a very good rest of your day, and hopefully, of course, hopefully you've enjoyed this audio segment. And we'll see you next time. Maybe I'll find more time to make things, because I'm freaking slow at these things. Anyways, bye everyone!